this match didn't go quite as well as I hoped. It started out pretty nicely, but things deteriorated quite rapidly as the game went on. But it does show one of the reasons I like this tank. It's just, well, several of the reasons I like this tank. It's just so small and agile and tough to crack. I begin by heading to the south corner, trying to get quick shots on whatever comes across the bridge first. We've got some decent players in 53, 55s, so if I can get some spots for them, that'd be an added bonus. Position myself in the bush, just to give myself that little bit more camo, even though I'm going to probably fire as soon as I spot something, and sure enough, T-32 is the first thing lit, followed by a Pershing. They managed to spot me back after I fired my gun, and because the enemy have a bat-chat RD, I move away from that position. So that's a pair of T-32s and a Pershing. That's all tier 8s. Now I can quite comfortably handle 3 tier 8s alone, as long as I've got some cover to work with, and in this situation I do. Here I'm pre-aimed, waiting for that T-32 to attempt to go up the hill. I figured he might. Evidently they decided not to, which was a wise choice, because if they come around that corner I would have perma-tracked them on it, and it would have been the end. So we got a decent amount of tanks up north, probably not enough. Idiot JP100, probably the worst player on the team, is driving through the center of the map with our similarly terrible IS-3 and T-30... what's that? T-34, yeah. Who's also terrible. What a surprise, the 3 worst players on the team are driving through the middle of the swamp. So I managed to get a shot on the Pershing. I'm looking for one here. The angle's bad. I just don't quite get him. And so I pop around the corner and run into this guy. His first shot bounces off my front armor. So here I'm just working my cover. I know I can out DPM this guy quite comfortably, especially since I'm penning and he's not. My Artie actually has shots here. His Artie appears not to be paying attention to me. As I roll past here, I respot the Pershing. I get an unlucky bounce there, and he actually gets a shot through me. But my next shot takes him out. So now I just got to work over this already damaged T-32 here, and then the bridge is mine. Gets a shot through my right side there. The Object 430's hull armor is 120mm upper and lower plates, 40mm shoulders. It's very well angled, but at that range, particularly tanks with very good gun depression like the T-32, they can just more or less annul the angle and pen through it. But in terms of medium tank armor, it is exceptionally good. Probably the only better armored medium tank is the E50. And the E50 is actually quite soft because its turret face is completely flat and not very thick. Also has a soft lower plate. So the T-30 is distracted. I'm not sure who he's looking at, but it's not me. So I take advantage. It's kind of risky what I'm doing here. There's a chance that Artie could land a shot on me, but I managed to move before he does exactly that. Our tanks in the north have fallen to the enemy TD's camping base, I would presume, which are being spotted for by the E50. Instead of running north to engage them head-on, which would not be very smart, even in a well-armoured medium such as this, I see if I can probe through the south and spot some things. Ideally, I'd like to get those TDs really so our RD can focus them, but realistically, there's not much chance I'll get close enough to spot them without being hit. So I make it across the bridge okay. Terrible IS-3's turtled up behind a rock. He won't move for the rest of the time I'm here, so I make a quick snapshot at the Indian. It misses. However, he doesn't spot me somehow. And I managed to finish him off. He was sitting in that crater there, using as a hull down, but the Indian's turret's very thin. Unfortunately, I just missed that shot on the T-34. He was behind terrain when I fired. But he gets cleaned up by my team anyway, so actually I probably should have taken that shot at the Tiger too. Just to put some extra damage on him. I made a mistake here. I sat here for too long. I was hoping something would drive out in front of my gun, which is a very puppy thing to do. It's certainly not something their team was prepared to make happen. So that's obviously fruitless, and I shift myself back south. I don't want to cross mid, or at least not initially, because those TDs in base will tear me apart. I spot the E50, unfortunately that shot doesn't seem to connect. You can see here the reticle dropping and then popping back up again. That's a problem with the way the automatic range finding works. When you aim at a target on the crest of a hill, because obviously the target's above the skyline, when the target gets unspotted or you move your aim off of it to lead, say, a moving tank, your range calculation readjusts on the skybox, which is obviously infinite range, and your reticle drops considerably. Wargaming have said, I can't remember when it was a while ago, they said that they do plan on eventually implementing a way to enable manual range adjustment, which should solve that problem. Although I'm not sure how they plan on implementing it. So the Waffenträger 100 was briefly spotted. I'm not able to re-spot him. This is probably one of the situations where I really wish I had optics on this tank. I run vents on my Soviet mediums, chiefly because I use them for close-in fighting. I need maximized rate of fire rather than maximized spotting distance, but the sort of trend these days is moving away from the holy trinity of V-stab, rammer, and vents, and towards the new holy trinity of V-stab, rammer, and optics. And undeniably, when you are a better player than most of the other people in this game, you can really do a lot more with the increased view range. So it's something to consider. I'm not sure if I'll do it yet. My Centurion, my Patton, both have optics. When I get my STB, it's going to have optics. My Leopard has optics. All my mediums with over 400 meters stop view range have optics on them. Obviously, all my light tanks as well have either optics or binocs. So my first shot on this Carnarvon misses. So I take my time on my second and manage to get a shot right through his engine. Unfortunately, our RD gets counter-batteried. I get spotted here. So I can't afford to sit still. Their RD will still be able to take shots at my last seen position. Our IS-3 finally drowns after he'd been cowering behind that rock all game. Complete waste of a player. I go to peek over the middle. I want to come in behind these guys up here, but I hesitate, which was a real mistake. The reason I hesitate is because the Waffenträger was spotted there, but as it turns out, I was behind solid cover to it anyway. Now this little sort of floundering around trying to figure out what to do, that cost me the game, I think. Well, I say it cost me the game. I probably would have lost the game anyway, but it cost me time that could have been spent. See, I just took a hit because of that. 2 hits, in fact. If I'd just come straight over the top without hesitating, I would have still had a lot more hit points to play with, which would have allowed me to quite comfortably handle the E50, the Tiger 2, and the IS-3. As it is, our 268's put himself in a really bad position. He's stuck. He doesn't really have shots on much. The E50 gets lit, he's one shot. Unfortunately, I rush my shot and bounce off his upper plate. It's a terrible shot on my part, and then he reloads before I do, and the 50B is right behind me. It's possible if I'd played that better, I might have pulled out a miracle win. Those 2 TDs that were hell camped in their base most of the game, obviously the Waffenträger moved out. I have no idea if the JPE did. They would have been troublesome to deal with, but I could have maybe done it if I'd played a flawless game after that point. But in this case, I think I did as much as I really could be expected to do. I carried the weight of 3 tanks, and I don't think it's my fault that the rest of my team, aside from the 268 and the Artie, did nothing. So there you go. The JPE did move out of base. See, in this situation, I could have actually tried to, if I'd survived, I could have gone for their cap and tried to bait them back to it one at a time. They wouldn't get there at the same time, I don't think. But it's all theory crafting. In the end, we end up losing. 4.7k damage. I don't remember if I landed any blind shots. And I think I did some spotting too. And 6 kills. But at least it was a Top Gun, so I still got full XP for the match. So that's a thing.